Hare Krishna. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Thiravanachari. Yamuna Thiravanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtottara Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtottara Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Nama Acharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopagopina Sham Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Yamunamai Ki Jai. Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Krishna. So someone's going to bring the board. I need a book too. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Prescribed Duties for Mankind. Chapter 3, Yamaraj instructs his messengers. Text 16. So if everybody could please repeat after me. Yam Vai Na Kobir Manasa Subir Va Hrida Gira Vasu Prito Ichakshate Atmanam antirhidi santam atmanam chakshur yataiva kritayas tataha param yambana gobir manasa subirva Hrida gira vasubrito vichakshate Atmanam antarhidi santam how does it go? Atmanam antarhidi santam atmanam Chakshur yataiva kritayas tata param Yam vainagobir manasa subirva Hida gira vasubito vichakshate Atmanam antarhidi santam atmanam Chakshur yataiva kritayas tata param Yam vainagobir manasa subirva Hrida gira vasubrito vichakshate Atmanam antarhidi santam atmanam Chakshur yataiva kritayas tata param Yum, whom, vai, indeed, na, not, gobihi, by the senses, manasa, by the mind, vasubihi, by the life breath, va, or, shida, by thoughts, gira, by words, va, or, vasubritaha, the living entities, vichakshate, see or know, Atmanam, Supersoul, Antahridhi, within the core of the heart. Santam, existing. Atmanam, of the living entities. Chakshuhu, the eyes. Yata, just like. Eva, well, indeed. Akritayaha, the different parts or limbs of the body. Tataha, then them. Param, higher. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Swami Prabhupada. As the different limbs of the body cannot see the eyes, right? The different limbs can't see the eyes. The living entities cannot see the Supreme Lord, who is situated as a supersoul in everyone's heart. Not by the senses, by the mind, by the life air, by thoughts within the heart, or by the vibration of words can the living entities ascertain the real situation of the Supreme Lord. Purport. Although the different parts of the body do not have the power to see the eyes direct the movements of the body's different parts. The legs move forward because the eyes see what is in front of them. So the legs can't see the eyes, right? But based on what the eyes are seeing, then the legs move, right? Like if there's a snake, going by, then people, like we were walking recently and we were visiting someone's home about 45 minutes east, and they were thinking about having gatherings at their home. So there was a trail nearby, so we went on a little walk. And the sun was starting to set, and then there was a snake there. And it wasn't moving. So somebody threw a rock. It didn't hit the snake, but then we realized that it was a rattlesnake, making a noise. So then, anyway, somehow or other we moved on. But based on what the eyes see, then the legs will move. Okay, we're not going this way, we're going this way. We're going away from the danger. We're going away from danger. And the hand touches because the eyes see touchable entities. Similarly, every living being acts according to the direction of the Supersoul, who is situated within the heart. As the Lord confirms in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, text 15, Sarvasya chaham hridisandavishto matasmritir jnanam apohanam cha. I am sitting in everyone's heart and giving directions for remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Elsewhere in Bhagavad Gita, it is stated, Ishvara sarvabhutanam hrideshu janatishti, the Supreme Lord as the Supersoul is situated within the heart. The living entity cannot do anything without the sanction of the Supersoul. The Supersoul is acting at every moment, but the living entity cannot understand the form and activities of the Supersoul by manipulating his senses. The example of the eyes and the bodily limbs is very appropriate. If the limbs could see, they could walk forward without the help of the eyes. But that is impossible. Although one cannot see the Supersoul in one's heart through sensual activities, his direction is necessary. Om Jnanativadandasya Gyananjana Shalakya Chakshulanavitammena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karivachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yakripatamaham Vande Shri Guru Nidhitananam Vancha Kabdribishta Kripa Sindhubevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vas Adi Gaur Bhaktivinanda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Translation again. As the different limbs of the body cannot see the eyes, the living entities cannot see the Supreme Lord, who is situated as a Supersoul in everyone's heart. Not by the senses, by the mind, by the life air, by thoughts within the heart, or by the vibration of words can the living entities ascertain the real situation of the Supreme Lord. So, Bhakti Sundar Goswami, His Holiness Bhakti Sundar Goswami, who has been visiting here for a number of years now, I don't remember how long, but anyways, a number of years. He eventually got some disciples, so he got some better prasadam. Disciples have a special love and affection for the guru, and they really try. Or sometimes non-disciples, right? Because I remember there were some brahmacharis cooking for him one time, and I don't know why we were doing this. It's kind of strange, but I was making the khichdi, which he seemed to be satisfied with. And another devotee was making the sabji for him, which, looking back on, is very strange, because I could have just made the sabji. We're like breaking up such a small service. Anyways, I would bring it over to him at Dravida Prabhu's house. And then at one time he told me, he said, "Is there any other vegetables besides squash?" He said, "You've been bringing me squash every day," which was true. This devotee was, making him a squash sabji every day. I said, "Yes, Maharaj, we have other vegetables. We'll change it up for you." I remember Bhakti Vasudev Swami was visiting here. He used to visit. He hasn't come by for a while, but at one point he told one of the brahmacharis, because he was here for about a week, and he said, brahmachari was serving him his lunch out on the patio, and Maharaj said, "So don't worry, I'm going to be leaving tomorrow, to your great pleasure," because he was getting a feeling that the brahmachari was kind of getting sick of serving him lunch and cooking him lunch, and so anyways. But Maharaj has some disciples here, Bhakti Sundar Goswami, mainly Kanai Balai's cooking for him. Maharaj is happy. But anyways, before he was Bhakti Sundar Goswami, he was a brahmachari in Venezuela. Srila Prabhupada visited there once. He actually wrote a book about it in Spanish. It's been translated into English, and apparently it'll be coming out sometime soon, the English version. But as a brahmachari, he said he used to go steal the maha sweets, the burfi and the different things in the morning. There's different standards at different temples. Sometimes you never see the maha prasadam, the sweets, and you have to have some special connections in order to actually get that maha prasadam. Like in Vrindavan, Krishna Balarama temple, or Mayapur, or wherever, there's only so much offered to the deities, maha prasadam, so generally devotees, they'll have to book it. That means they'll have to give some donation, and then they'll get that maha prasadam, or else, So anyways, he was somehow or other stealing these sweets and things. And he would steal them, and then he would go to a secluded place and then have them, So, he tells the story also, but... So anyways, when Srila Prabhupada was giving him initiation, he said, "Your name is Jagat Chakshu Das." And then Prabhupada said, it means there's eyes all over the universe, and you cannot cheat the Supreme Lord. He sees everything. And then Jagat Jagat, he was singing, "Oh, Prabhupada knows everything. He knows I was stealing these sweets, But yeah, we may be able to cheat others. That's possible. But we can't cheat Krishna. We can't cheat Krishna. Also, we can't cheat the spiritual master. We can't cheat the spiritual master. We can't cheat Krishna. Just like there was one fellow, he was claiming to be God. Still, people do that. It's common these days also. Still, people are... It's a good business, If you convince people you're God, you really, you gotta... No problem with funds, no problem with, being materially comfortable, which is their goal, and, sense gratification, which is their goal, ultimately. But there was one person, what was his name? This is many years ago, in the 70s or whatever. Yeah, there was, yeah, Guru Maharaji, yeah. So Prabhupada was asked one time about Guru Maharaji in Hong Kong. You know, reporters, they're always trying to get a good story, and they said, Swamiji, what do you think about Guru Maharaji? And Prabhupada said, we're not concerned with this person, and, you know, we'll deal with another topic. But the person kept on, you know, he felt that there was a story brewing up, you know, in Prabhupada's eyes. He could see there's some... And they said, no, but Swamiji, what do you think about Guru Maharaji? I really want to know. And Prabhupada, no, I want to know what you think. And then Prabhupada said, oh, Guru Maharaji, he's a rascal, he's a fool. And he said, he's claiming to be God. He's claiming to be Krishna. But he cannot cheat Krishna. And soon he'll realize, soon there'll be something that comes out where, you know, this becomes clear. In essence, Prabhupada was saying that. So anyway, some time passed, and again, this person was claiming to be God, and he had some disciples here in America, and apparently he became attracted to one of his female disciples, American disciples. Somehow or other, I don't know. I think he married him, or you know, there was something going on between them. And Guru, his mother found out in India. Even nowadays, right? Try to marry American. Mother may not like that. Even God can't. So she found out about that, and she became very disturbed, Guru Maharaji's mother. And then she made a public announcement, and it went to the Indian newspaper, you know, only in India. It went to the Indian newspaper, and the announcement was that the mother, she declared, my son, he is no longer God, but my other son, he is God.
How the Shakti was transferred.
Yeah. She rejected. She made an announcement, you know, and went in a newspaper. So yeah, so many people may be cheated by such people. Even nowadays, there's so many contemporary people who are claiming to be Shiva or Vishnu or Mahavishnu or whoever, or a reincarnation of whoever, right? But so many people may be cheated by these people, but ultimately, they're the ones, their followers are cheated, and they're cheated also. And Shusha Upanishad says some really intense things about people like that. If you read them, it's like a heavy-duty book, Shusha Upanishad, what happens to such people. And Prabhupada really gets into it in the purport. So we should understand that we also, as servants of, or as aspiring servants of Krishna, servants of our spiritual master, servants of the devotees, we also cannot cheat. We have to be honest and straightforward, and not try to, as one devotee would always he would always use this term. He's not around anymore, so you don't hear the term very much. But he would say, do not cut corners, you know. No shortcuts, cutting corners. Because those who cut corners, they actually don't get the mercy. Those who do not cut corners, they get the mercy. For example, a really ridiculous example, this isn't in the devotee world, but it's kind of like this, some story of a fellow in Fiji. His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami, he said he went and visited this temple in Fiji, and they had a deity of Krishna there. And this deity of Krishna, Maharaj asked him about it. he said, he asked the priest, how often do you change this deity of Krishna? And the fellow said, oh, we do it once a year. Yeah, change of clothes. He said, oh, we change the clothes once a year. I mean, yeah. And Maharaj said, well, why do you change the clothes once a year? I mean, talk about a bads, it's standard, right? Deity ministry wouldn't be happy with that one, right? You're supposed to do morning, evening, morning, evening, morning, evening, morning, evening. Or Los Angeles, I don't know if anyone else is doing this. Yeah, Rukmini Dwarkadish are doing in the afternoon also. But, Trazin. So anyways, Maharaj asked him, why are you only dressing them once a year? And then this priest said, well, you know, if we dress them more than that, then we're going to have to start offering food. Oh, and the thing is, we're like really attached to garlic and onions and different things. So then, you know, our diet will be messed up, you know, so we can't really. And Mike said, oh God, these people are really. Or he would make the point, or he also mentioned, Salan's Tamal Krishna Goswami, he said he would visit sometimes people's homes in India. And he would see that these people are really wealthy. I mean, like, really wealthy, huge estate with servants and, you know, people cleaning and cooking and so many rooms and fancy place. I mean, sometimes you see that in India. Other places may be very poor, but you see some places quite. So he would go to these homes and try to make life members and so on. And he went to one person's home, and the person was bragging, oh, I'm such a pious person, I'm such a religious person. And I said, okay. And, you know. And then the fellow said, do you want me to show you my temple room? And Maharaj said, okay, sure, you can show me your temple room. And then this huge house. And then this man walks, and he goes to a little hole in the wall closet type of thing. So this is my temple room. And he's offering to Krishna some sugar candy or something, you know, little rock candy while he's, you know, eating all types of opulent things. So now, of course, these are extreme examples. But there's different ways we could cut corners or do shortcuts and things like that, which will, again, it only really harms ourselves. It may harm others around us also, a bad example, but it really harms ourselves. I was in Mayapur recently, and I was chanting Hare Krishna outside of the samadhis. We have the Vaishnava samadhis there. And I was there for some time, and it was a bit of a distance, so I was actually outside of the samadhis. I was kind of distant. So there was one devotee, he came in, and I saw him, and he was very, at least from my perspective, at least we could say he was offering full dandavats, and it was really putting energy into offering obeisances. And I was thinking to myself that, Hare Krishna, good morning to you. I have to get you a San Diego hat. You got the New York one. No, that's okay. That's all right. I'm just joking. But I was just reflecting on it, that he or people in general, they could cut corners in relation to offering obeisances or whatever it may be. And those people actually don't get as much mercy, but those who perform the austerity, they get the mercy. Those who perform the austerity. Like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, right? Man mana bhavamad bhakto, you think of me, become my devotee, offer obeisances to me. So those who bow down to Krishna, to the devotees, to the spiritual master, and they do it with attention and devotion, and they get the mercy because they're performing the austerity. And that is the problem nowadays, because a lot of people, they are like scared of performing austerity. They think it's terrible, right? Oh, austerity, oh no, that's terrible. Although they'll perform many austerities for their own body and family and country and all that, but when they're trying to perform austerities for Krishna, that's scary. I don't want to do that. But this is what's necessary. For example, hey, Hare Krishna, Randy. Wow, I haven't seen you for a while. You live here in San Diego now? Just visiting? Okay, all right. For example, if you have a group and living in the temple, a group of devotees living in a temple, they have to perform the austerity. It's required. They have to rise early. They have to be clean. They have to perform their spiritual duties, activities. They have to do so many things to keep the temple running, to bring people to the temple. It's a lot, actually, to keep a temple going. And those who do that, those who perform the austerity, they get the mercy. They get the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, they get the mercy of Radha Giridhari, they get the mercy of their spiritual master. They benefit. And those who don't, then they don't get the mercy, they don't benefit. They may benefit to different degrees depending on their surrender, but so we shouldn't be scared. Like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, what does he say? Sarvadhamam prityaja mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarvapapya mokshyami mashuchaha. So he says, do not fear, do not worry, do not hesitate. That's the thing. Sometimes people, they're hesitating, right? Oh, should I? Or they're fearing, or what else? They're worrying, right? But doubting, which is interesting because in mundane life, they don't do that so much. They're just like, all right. They're not fearing to go downtown San Diego and hit the bars, and they're not worrying or fearing or hesitating, right? They're not hesitating, or whatever it is. If it's some pious, religious type of sense gratification, they're not fearing to, stack up the bank account and make a nice life for themselves, and right? They're not fearing that, or hesitating, or worried, but they're going for it full force. So similarly, we should, just as people, they engage full force in the activities of this material world, we should engage full force in spiritual activities. Take a little risk, right? And we should develop this, or reawaken this attraction to Krishna. Like Rupa Goswami, he has all these nice, beautiful prayers in one book, Padyavali, which is a collection of his favorite verses. And I think he wrote this one, though, and maybe Dravida Prabhu knows it. But he's saying that just as a young woman and young man on the day of their marriage, young bride and groom, they're looking at each other, right? And it's so intense, and they're really attracted to each other. I mean, that's in the case that both of them aren't going to, one of them's going to change their mind. But on a normal, they're really attracted to each other. So Rupa Goswami says, just like that, let me become attracted to your deity form. Let me become so attracted. And he says, just as when a lover reads a letter from their beloved, let me read scripture, let me hear your holy name like this with such great attention. Like Prabhupada, when devotees would send letters to the disciples, they would read it with great attention, every word, and they would meditate on it, and they would share it with other devotees. It's a big thing. You get a letter from Prabhupada. So he said, let my attraction be like that to chanting and hearing and so on. He said, just as you have the verse? Yeah, just as Rupa Goswami's mentioning, but young men and women, they're attracted, kissing each other, right? And he said, let me have such attraction to your prasadam. This is what Rupa Goswami is saying. So it's giving us some idea of the attraction we need to have. It's giving us an idea. And if we want to make progress in that regard, then Krishna will help us. Says here, similarly, every living entity acts according to the direction of the Supersoul, who is situated in everyone's heart. So he's guiding everyone. Like I was by the mercy of the devotees and my spiritual master, and I got an opportunity to go to Turkey recently. And I went to Istanbul for some days, and I also went to a 6-hour drive to Ankara, the capital of Turkey, and nice group of devotees there. And yeah, they don't get many visitors, so very happy. And they put on some programs. They rented like this, it was like a government room. It was a nice room, and then some aromatherapy studio that somebody had. So then they invited people, and the devotees were there. So yeah, there were nice gatherings. But one person was asking me while I was there. Of course, everything was being translated because Turkish. But they were asking me, "Is it an accident that I'm here?" And I said, "No, it's not an accident. This is." You're being directed here. Or one girl is kind of funny. She said after the class, she said, "Oh, I actually recently got a cat." In Turkey, they like cats over there a lot. But she said, "Recently I got a cat as a pet," and she said, "I named the cat Hari." I said, "Oh, really?" And I said, "What does Hari mean in Turkish?" She said, "Oh, Hari means like the glitter in your eye." I said, "Okay." And she said, "Yeah, this cat is very energetic. So the cat's always jumping around. And she's always going, 'Oh, Hari, 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 come here, Hari, Hari, Hari.'" So I said, "All right, great. Now you have the full mantra." I said, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. You could chant the full, Well, I did say that, actually. I said, maybe get another cat named Krishna. She said, "Oh, I actually just got a cat. I named him something else." So I said, "All right, well, anyways, you could just chant this full mantra now." Huh? Haribol, yeah. So if we're wanting spiritual progress, we're wanting Krishna consciousness, then Krishna will guide us in the right way. That's the idea, and we do not see that. We may not see that, how that's happening, or just like book distribution, right? Also in Istanbul, the devotees were very happy because the country is such that you cannot go out and distribute books on the streets. I mean, sometimes, anyways, but it's a little dangerous, and they don't really do it. Whereas the difference here in America, it's, like Vijay Prabhu was mentioned the other day, it's free range, go wherever you like practically. Freedom of religion, speech. So, which is a benefit we should utilize, right? If we have a benefit, if we have something, we should fully appreciate that and engage in it. Similarly with what else about that? Oh yeah, I was thinking about the weather. Of course, it's a little cold sometimes, windy or something, but nothing like Michigan or whatever, New York City or Moscow, or right. It's cold over there, so we should also appreciate that and free range, go around. But anyways, the devotees, they're very happy because there's this huge book fair, which I'm wondering if they have one in San Diego. I've never heard of them being one in San Diego or LA. Maybe there is. But I was talking to the devotees about that. I was saying there has to be a culture of reading, or at least collecting of books, in order to have such a big book fair. Because this book fair was just huge. Like over 500,000 people go there in the course of 8 days. It's an 8-day book fair. And they have books, all different types of books. So I was saying, sometimes if you set up a book fair in whatever, some big city in America, you're not going to get many people going there. You set up Comic-Con, or you set up some big food, bunch of food trucks or something. So anyways, I'm not sure. Maybe they have one in San Diego. It'd be a good opportunity. But the devotees were very happy because they were setting up a book table and they were distributing freely to all these people, walking by. And they just came out with two new books, Nectar of Instruction and Sri Upanishad. So they have a total of about 7 books. So they were distributing. So yeah, we should. So people, according to their desires, if they want if they want spiritual progress, if they're looking for God, then they'll be directed. There's so many book stands there, and they'll be directed by Krishna in the heart. Similarly here in San Diego or whatever it is, people are directed to meet a devotee. So we should also keep that in mind, that this much of it is going, so it's a Supersoul directing us and them. Okay, so does anybody have any questions or comments? Tomorrow's verse is 17. Yeah.
I just had 2 comments. You mentioned about the all I can think of is his priest sannyas name, Bhakti Sundar, stealing prasadam.
Yeah.
Prabhupada said there's 2 types of devotees: devotees who distribute prasadam and devotees who steal prasadam. And then Prabhupada paused and said, and they're both transcendental. And a miracle of that bald yogi, that Guru, whatever his name was, Guru Maharaji, was that he was a celibate, and he married that girl. Mm-hmm. I think she was an airline stewardess, actually. But he married the girl, and 5.5 months later, she had a baby. Mm-hmm. It's a miracle. Because he was a celibate.
Yeah. So, any other questions, comments?
Jai Prabhu. So here in the verse it says, not by the senses or the mind or life air, by thoughts within the heart or vibrations of words can the living entity ascertain the real situation of the Supreme Lord. So how else do we really ascertain the real situation of the Lord?
Okay. Well, we have to engage in the process. There's a process for everything. There's a process how to make oatmeal, for example. It's a very scientific process. Anyways, Mukundacharya Prabhu was telling me when he was going to college, he made some oatmeal for himself. And he was walking by some people it was a simple bowl of oatmeal. And then one girl, she said, "Did you make that?" And Mukunda Prabhu said, "Yes, I made it." And she's like, "What did she say?"
She said, like, on the stove?
Here, can you put it in the mic? Just because it was your experience, so you could say it.
Well, that was all. She just said, "Oh, what's that?" I said, "So it's oatmeal." She's like, "Oh, did you make it?" I said, "Yeah." She's like on the stove? And I said, "Yeah." Like, it's like, "Oh, you should show us sometime." I think that was it. Maybe
Yeah. You should show us sometime. I mean, that's like really basic. Anyways, Hare Krishna. Prabhupada, when he first met Yamuna Devi, she was Joan something, and Prabhupada she was helping cook for her sister's marriage, Mukunda and Janaki. So that was her first experience in meeting Prabhupada. Go figure, right? She started cooking with Prabhupada, helping him, and she actually was washing a pot, and then Prabhupada would say, "Keep on washing, get all that black off," and going back. So Prabhupada asked her, "Do you know how to make I think he said something like, medium soft dough?" And she said, "No, I don't really know how to do that." And Prabhupada said, "How old are you? And you still don't know how to do that? You know, and you should know these things, you know." Anyways. Every girl in India knows this. You know. So there's a process to everything. So similarly, there's a process of God realization, or there's the path of God realization, or science of self-realization. And not by our senses and by our materially contaminated senses and mind and different ways like that. We're not going to be able to ascertain the Supersoul. We're not going to be able to realize the Supersoul or have any God realization, actually. But the process is we have to, and this is one of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's favorite verses. In that Vaibhava book it's mentioned, this is one of his favorite verses. Ata Shri Krishna Namadi Nabhaved Graham Indriya Sevan Mukha Jivada Swami Vaspratada. That the verse is saying that our materially blunt senses, contaminated senses, cannot perceive Krishna. But by engaging the senses in Krishna's service, by chanting Hare Krishna, starting with the tongue, chanting Hare Krishna, taking food offered to Krishna, then our senses become purified. And then the verse says that then Krishna reveals himself. Krishna reveals himself. And in different cases, Prabhupada would say different things in terms of God realization. Like, one case, Prabhupada said, "Why do you accept Krishna as God?" And then many devotees were in the audience, and they're saying, "Well, Prabhupada, because it says it in the Bhagavad Gita." And Prabhupada said, "No." And then they kept on saying different things like that. And Prabhupada said, no, I want a different answer. And then there was one young devotee there. And then he said, "Prabhupada, when I chant Hare Krishna," he said, "I could feel the presence of Krishna. I have this, it's an experience." And Prabhupada said, yes, he accepted the answer. Now, of course, when talking with certain people, we can't, that's not going to fly. But there needs logic and reason and many different arguments and things like that. But it is something Prabhupada accepted. But anyways, the idea is that, Krishna reveals himself depending on our level of surrender. Yayatamam prapadyante tamsta daiva bhajamiham. So that's the idea. Yeah. Yes.
I can just boom it out. I was thinking of that verse. Thanks. And then I was also thinking there's a verse, I don't know the Sanskrit, but does not that thing therapeutically treated become the cure of the self-same disease? I'll say it again. Does not that thing therapeutically treated become the cure of the self-same disease? And it gives the example that too much dairy product, you get sick, and one of the cures, Ayurvedic cures, is you have some yogurt. So it's milk and yogurt are the same, it's just transferred, right? So the senses, all those things listed there, materially are a cause of entanglement. But therapeutically treated, just like Balaram was saying, when those things are engaged in the service of the master of the senses, all those things that were a cause of entanglement become a cause of liberation. Just like smelling. Oh, a beautiful perfume. Oh, I love that girl. But you smell a flower offered to Krishna, or the smell of the deity garland, or the incense, for Kumaras, it becomes liberated. So the senses, all those things listed, separate from Krishna's service, are causes of entanglement. Therapeutically treated, in other words, by the connection with Krishna, then those very same things become the source of liberation. That's why bhakti is such a mystical thing. Devotional service is completely mystical. Because that which is entangled also delivers.
Yeah, what is that, Dravida Prabhu, that name? You said this thing is like Toria?
Talya Trikena.
Yeah.
Should I explain what that is? Yeah. Trikena means three things, and it refers to singing, dancing, and playing musical instruments. And those can be used obviously for a lot of Maya. You think of raves and rock concerts and all these things, but those three are what Lord Chaitanya engaged in the process of Sankirtan. Singing, dancing, and playing musical instruments.
Achha.
Yeah, the Talya Trikena. But it's amazing, Maharaj. I was going to ask a question, and you answered it, but I just wanted to take 5 seconds. The one that really got me in this list was vibration of words. We've been hearing vibration of words. The whole thing is vibration of words, but the question is what words?
Yeah.
But on your own, if you just, you come up with it, then all of these things are just going to make you deeper in Maya. But if you get the guidance from above, then all of them become agents of transcendence.
And like Prabhupada says, we need a guru, a teacher. He says it's not enough, just like if you go to a university and you're sitting there in class, but you may pick up something, right? But, or for example, reading books. I mean, no one becomes a doctor just by reading books. There has to be training, there has to be, things. So similarly, we cannot understand simply just by reading. But we have to engage in the process, and we also have to have a teacher who will explain. So, yeah. But the Mitri, he should be initiated soon, so that's good news. Oh, sorry. He's initiated, but he doesn't have the name.
I know his name.
So, yeah. So any last?
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
It's not common that people come to my table and say, this isn't an accident. So, this isn't an accident.
This isn't an
accident. So there was 2 instances. There was a lady. She said, I usually walk on this side of the hallway, but I came to this side. And she said, I've been looking for a nice book to read. So I gave her Bhagavad Gita. And then there was another girl. She hurt her foot, and she said, usually I don't stop, And then she said, but my foot started hurting, and then when I passed your table, you called me like that. And so I was just thinking about how Krishna, directs the wandering living.
Wanderings of all living.
Yeah, there's some story of I think it was someone at a rock concert. They're kind of dancing or something, and then all of a sudden they see a book flying in the air. And they catch the book and they read it, and then whatever come to the temple become a devotee, something like that, right? Anyways, Vijay Prabhu has a book about all of these stories that should be coming out.
It landed in his hand. It landed in his hand.
Yeah.
Bhakti by Bhav Maharaj. Bhakti by Bhav Maharaj was hiking in Germany in the forests, and they have the government has a little place where you take shelter if you're caught in a storm or something like that, and they have some basic foods, there's a bathroom and a shower, and it's a little shelter. So he felt the call of nature. He went and did his business, and it was the kind of toilet with a water tank, and he pulled the lever for the water to come down to flush the toilet, and the whole thing collapsed, and a Bhagavad Gita bounced off his head. Somebody had stuck it on top of the tank. Actually, he said, God, if you're there, why all this shadow game. Why don't you just hit me over the head with it? Flush the toilet and Bhagavad Gita bounced off his head.
It's a famous story. I didn't know that was him.
It's Bhakti by Bob Maharaj.
Is that in your book?
Should be coming out soon, right?
We're all waiting.
Justin, how come?
Takes a little time.
India. Waiting for paper.
Okay. All right.
Now, Dimitri had something you want to say?
I just want to say that sometimes even if people just come to the table like often and say no multiple times, just sometimes there was one occasion somebody said, just because you're offering so many times, I'll just stop and take this. So sometimes people say,
Yeah, devotees have to be persistent. That's one of the. I mean, within reason, they have to be persistent, because you keep on trying, and then people will accept at one point. This devotee, Nrsinga Krishna Prabhu from Istanbul, he was telling me how he collects people's emails, and he said he was emailing this person amongst many other people, but they were getting this email for 10 years straight, inviting to the programs, and somehow they didn't unsubscribe. They just kept on accepting the emails. And then eventually the person said, you know what, I'm just going to visit the center. And they visited the center and they became a devotee. And he said he had a similar thing happen on social media. People, they were watching for like 10 years, and they never visited somehow. They would just hear, see the little video or whatever, and then the person visited and they also became a devotee. After 10 years, it's a long time. Of course you have Of course you have stories of books like that also, so. Okay, Grantraj, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.